So, in the last lecture, we talked about functionalism. Before that, we talked about materialism more generally as a way of understanding and explaining the mind. And I would say that materialism generally and functionalism a bit more specifically are probably the dominant approaches in philosophy for thinking about how to understand the mind. And this is what Nagel is arguing against. Nagel thinks that materialism generally and functionalism specifically miss some very important things, that they can't explain some very important things. And I tend to think he's right. But let's get more in detail into his argument and see, both what he's arguing for and in the next lecture why this is important. So Nagel intends this "What is it like to be a bat" paper as a criticism of materialism generally. Nagel will say you cannot explain the mind, thinking in the mind generally, in terms of matter. Or at least you can't, given the way we currently think of matter and the way science tries to explain it. Nagel thinks that in theory, with some better account of what matter is or different way of approaching it, maybe it's possible, but the current approaches just don't get it. And there's no way he sees that they can. So he thinks functionalism in particular, and materialism more generally, at least as it's currently sort of approached or thought about, just cannot fully account for the mind. So, why is that? Nagel will talk about materialism more generally, but remember, functionalism is a type of materialism. If materialism generally has a problem, then functionalism will as well. Okay. So Nagel starts his argument thinking about a sort of experience that he says is fundamentally alien, hard for us to understand or know what it's like to be this thing. Nagel talks about a bat, right? Obviously, pretty clear that Nagel has had a bat in his house when he writes this. I'm going to bet fairly recently, right? He's like, anyone who's had a bat in the house knows very well you're confronting a very alien form of life. I don't know. This amuses me because I can picture Thomas Nagel, who is a very distinguished looking philosopher, on a chair with a broom, trying to swat or, at least coax a bat out of his house. I don't know that this happened, but I'm pretty sure it did, and it amuses me very much. But Nagel will say, look, bats have experience that is just fundamentally different and alien to human experience, right? Bats' vision is very bad as compared to ours, right? Just not good at all. But what bats can do, they can emit sonar, and they can use this sonar. It gives them a very, very accurate map representation of the world. And I know what you're going to say, or at least some of you will say, well, what about humans who can echolocate? They can, click or make sounds and know where walls and stuff is. Well, kind of, right? That's kind of like a bat, but a bat, it's way more detailed, right? They send out their sort of chirps, their sort of sonar. They can tell where there's an insect tens of hundreds of feet away, right? Humans can maybe do something like this, but the idea that you could, send out sonar, right, at frequencies we don't even hear for the most part, right? The bat's high-pitched chirp, a lot of our hearing doesn't even capture the sound. The idea that you could send out this sound and build a mental map so detailed that you know where there's a moth 20, 30 feet away from you, humans just can't do that. And it's very hard to know what that would even be like, right? And look, I like Nagel's example. Bats are weird. It's an odd creature. But honestly, it might even be good to multiply this. I would have liked it if Nagel had given more examples, because I think they can really help to drive his point home. Look, take a dog, for instance, right? Dogs obviously experience the world in different ways than we do. If you have one, you know this. Um, you know, there are certain smells that obviously would make me gag that my dog loves, right? Obviously, dog poop does not smell to me like it does to her. Her reaction to it of intense interest and excitement is not the way I react to that stuff, right? It's got to smell different to my dog than it does to me. I don't know what it smells like to her, right? And you can think of other stuff with dogs, right? Their vision is way less sensitive than ours, right? You might have heard, well, dogs can't see color. That's actually not right. But dogs, we have three different cones for color in our eyes. Dogs only have two, and one of their cones is different. We have red, green, blue. Dogs actually only have blue and yellow. So their color vision is less sensitive than ours. And given that one of their kinds of cones is different, we're pretty sure it's different from ours too, right? Just not like they see less, but they probably see just differently. But you can think of other stuff with dogs, right? I saw in the newspaper that, they think they might be able to train dogs to sniff out people who are COVID positive, right? Now, look, if that's true, there's obviously something COVID smells like to a dog. To a human being, there isn't, as far as I know, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to find out. Unlike dogs, we can actually get it. And dogs can get it, I just don't think it actually hurts them if they do. It doesn't really do much. I mean, that's weird, right? Not just that dogs can detect COVID, but there is something that COVID smells like to a dog, maybe, right? If you don't like the COVID example, maybe that won't pan out, but there's all kinds of smells that dogs can smell. Their noses are just way more sensitive than ours. There's all kinds of scents that they can smell that we can't. What do those smell like to them, right? Or I'll give you another example. Eagles have way better vision than ours. They can see stuff way further than we can. Not only that, eagles and a lot of other birds can see colors we can't, right? We cannot see into the ultraviolet spectrum. Eagles and a lot of other birds can. They can see ultraviolet. There's a whole color, a whole range of visible light that birds can see that we human beings can't. What does ultraviolet look like to an eagle? I have no idea, right? Obviously, it looks like something to them. They can see it. But we don't know what it looks like to them because we've never had that experience, right? Same with the smells that a dog can smell that we can't. Or you want to go something that's even more mind-bending, think about an octopus. What's weird about an octopus, their brain, their thinking is actually kind of distributed in their body, right? They have a brain, but a lot of their neurological system is actually in their arms. And the arms can almost think and act independently of each other, So if you're an octopus, you have this one brain that's doing a lot of thinking, but you have these 8 arms that are in some way connected to your brain that also seem to be able to kind of think on their own. That's just weird, right? What is it like to be an octopus? One central brain in some way, but 8 different arms that kind of think on their own that are connected to your brain. I have no idea, right? There's all this experience that we see that animals have that's fundamentally alien to us. We don't know what it's like. What it's like to be a bat with its sonar, what it's like for a dog to smell things we can't, what it's like for an eagle to see colors or at least light that we can't, right? Well, Nagel will say, look, none of the knowledge that functionalism or any other sort of materialism gives you or has can tell you what it's like to be a bat. That's Nagel's example, but we can say the same thing for a dog or an octopus or an eagle, right? I can know exactly what's going on in a dog's nose and still not know what it's like to smell the smells that a dog smells, right? I know everything there is to know about the doggy brain. I mean, I don't, but imagine I did. Every single thing there is to know about what happens in a dog's brain, in its nose, and still I don't know what it's like to smell the smells it can and I can't. We could find out everything there is to know about what happens in a dog's nose when it smells COVID. We could know everything there is to know about what happens in its brain when its nose conveys those signals to the brain, down to the neuron. And we'd still have no idea what COVID smells like for a dog, right? Same, dogs are usually more obedient, probably easier to study. Eagles might be more problematic, but you could do the same thing for an eagle, right? You could know exactly what it is in an eagle's eye that lets it see ultraviolet while we can't. You could know, again, exactly what happens in Mr. Eagle's brain when he sees ultraviolet. You would have no idea still what ultraviolet light looks like to an eagle. Or you can bring this even closer to home, right? I have just the tiniest bit of color blindness myself, right? It comes in degrees. Basically, I just don't see green quite as well as other people do. I see green, I know it definitely can see green. I'm actually looking at a green notebook right now, right? But I'm told I don't see it quite as well as people with normal vision does. Very, very mild color blindness. So I'm left wondering, what does green look like to people who don't have any color blindness, who have normal vision? I don't know, right? Maybe it just looks a little the same as it does to me, a little more vivid, a little different. I have no idea, right? You can think of someone with even more profound color blindness, right? There's some people who really can't see green at all, or where green looks just like other colors, red and orange. If one of those people went and found out exactly what happens in a normal person's eye when they see green and exactly what happens in their brain, they would still have no idea what it is like to see green. Look, I've been belaboring this point, but it gets at something important, right? With a computer, if you understand everything that's happening on the chips, you know everything there is to know about what it's doing. You understand it fully. That can fully explain what a computer does when it beats us at chess or whatever. Nagel will say it's not the same for a bat. And I would add it's not the same for other animals or other experiences. You can know everything there is to know about the animal's brains, ears, eyes, whatever, and still not know what it's like to be a bat, or know what it's like to be a dog or an eagle for that matter, or an octopus, right? You know everything there is to know about the material that makes this thing up and what it does, You know everything you could want to know about a computer or any other machine, but there's still a fact about bats, dogs, octopi, eagles, and so on that you don't know. You don't know what it is like to have experiences they have that we don't. Nor would understanding the bat or the dog's programming, right? We put that in scare quotes. You could build a computer program, a perfect bat simulator that will predict exactly what Mr. Bat is going to do and when, right? I mean, we couldn't do this yet. We don't have enough computing power, but imagine we could. Even if our bat simulator predicted what a bat would do, way better than our weather simulations ever predict rain or whatever, you still wouldn't know what it's actually like to be that bat. Same goes for a dog simulator, an octopi or eagle simulator, right? Thinking of mildly amused at my dog Moxie, the thought of a Moxie simulator. I don't know why you would spend the money to build that. And she's a really sweet dog, but she's pretty predictable. But if you did, you still wouldn't know what it's like to be a Moxie or any other dog, right? So this gets us to Nagel's larger argument. If materialism, and remember functionalism is a species of materialism, if materialism of any sort could fully explain the mind, then if we knew all the physical facts about something, we would know all the mental facts about it as well. What it is like to have a certain kind of experience is a mental fact. What it is like to be a bat is a fact about a certain kind of experience. The experience of being a bat, right? Or plug-in being a dog or, an octopus or whatever, an eagle, any animal we think that has experience, right? Plug it in here when it has a type of experience that's really unfamiliar and weird for us. We could know all the physical facts about a bat, or again, any other animal, and still not know what it is like to be a bat, or any other animal when it has a weird kind of experience we're radically unfamiliar with. So we can know all the physical facts about something, but still not know all the mental facts. Therefore, materialism cannot fully explain the mind. If materialism could, knowing everything physical about a bat would tell us what it's like to be one, same with a dog or an eagle or whatever, but as we've seen, it doesn't, so there is something that materialism misses.